Hello, welcome to another episode of What's the Buzz, where we take a half an hour out of your day to interview ecosystem builders in the life sciences space. For us, ecosystem builders are important. It takes a village to bring your products to market and get it to patients. And I think it's important. That's why we do this each and every week. Talk to people who are helping them make that happen and support this industry. So today, I have a special guest, Jeff Wren, who's VP of Biotherapies at AABB. Jeff, welcome today.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, this is exciting. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to the conversation. Hey, Jeff, before I get in, let me give a little bit of love to some of our sponsors and do some housekeeping. So first and foremost, if this is the first time you're tuning in, please make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. We put a lot of original content out, and we do these interviews. Actually, Jeff, this is the second interview we've done this week, so it's a busy week for us. But make sure you subscribe. We do a lot to bring the community together around industry trends, as well as around jobs and opportunities in the industry. Our podcast every week, Jeff, is sponsored by CRB. So while we talk to people like you who are ecosystem builders, CRB is an actual ecosystem builder. Like, you know, they are an architect, design, and construction firm building the labs and blood banks and the life science facilities that we work in to bring products to market. So none of this would be possible without the ecosystem that they build for us. So a special thank you to CRB for supporting this podcast and supporting these interviews. And one last little bit of housekeeping for everybody. If you're going to be in Philadelphia for the Advanced Therapies USA, which is November 18th, 19th, and 20th, make sure you come a day early, or if you are a day early, we're hosting a welcome reception in partnership with QIAGEN and CGT Circle and our partners at Minaris. And so I hope you come out to that. It's going to be a great welcome reception. We've got a couple roundtables, topical roundtables. We know you're going to be in conference for 3 days, so we're going to make it light. Great opportunity to meet some colleagues while you're getting into town. So, Jeff, you'll be there, right?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'm moderating a session Tuesday night focused on the supply chain, and if we could reimagine the cell therapy supply chain, what would that look like? We know that, you know, it was built off of the processes that we use to deliver stem cell transplant, but as the therapies have evolved, have the points of administration have grown, you know, what could we do in the future for delivery of these products?
That's great. So you get a preview of Jeff today if you'll be up there. So Jeff, with that, tell us a little bit about. Could you do a basic introduction to yourself and tell us about AABB?
Yep. Hi everyone. Jeff Wren, the VP of Biotherapies for the AABB. That's the Association for the Advancement of Blood Biotherapies. We're a nearly 80-year-old professional association comprised of those involved in blood collections, transfusion medicine, as well as cell therapy research, cell therapy administration. A lot of our members are the folks in the laboratories, as well as those with quality and regulatory backgrounds. We've got clinicians. We're now expanding into the pharmacy space. You know, our focus really is on quality and education. So we rely a lot on our members to develop new education tools or new sets of standards to ensure that the quality of these products from the collection all the way through administration. And we can talk a little bit more about those different types of programs that we're offering. But yeah, it's a great association. I would invite everyone to join.
That's great. 80 years is quite the run. What an exciting time, though, because you're in a field that is evolving. You know, we were talking earlier, it's maturing really. So how do you see the field maturing right now? Like, what are some of the trends or things that you and your members are kind of evolving into or maturing into?
So a lot of these, you know, the current generation of cell therapies, mostly the CAR T products, so they've been proven effective. They've been given, you know, 50, 60,000 doses in the U.S., depending on how you're counting. And that's wonderful. And we know that this is now becoming a second line therapy. So a lot of the discussions have been around how do we get these products more available to the community? How do we make it so that they're not just administered at these academic medical centers that are, you know, they're treating with the newer, the tomorrow's medicines are the research, is where they're researching right now. And so now that they've become more standard, of care, how can we engage with different stakeholders to get these products out to the patients. And so we've been working with different groups, the blood centers, of course. We've got a whole plethora of capabilities they can use to help with the delivery of these products, as well as the pharmacy groups, to make sure that they're equipped to be able to dispense these out in the product community.
Yeah, as these therapies do move into kind of second line therapy and start really maturing, it does create, there's this whole ecosystem that suddenly has to mature alongside it. And so that's the ecosystem that you all are building, right? Those are the members that you're bringing together to tackle the challenges that are emerging as these blood therapies get more prevalent.
Right. Yeah. So the blood centers are collecting tens of millions of units of blood from our volunteer blood donors every year. They're certainly well equipped to provide the cellular starting material that's used to develop these therapies. Really advanced capabilities in testing the products, screening the donors, working with the hospitals to perform apheresis of patients within the hospital setting. A lot of these products, after they get manufactured, the manufacturers want to get them out the door because they want to continue to manufacture others. But not all these hospital sites have cryopreservation and storage capabilities. That's where they can lean into some of these blood center programs that have those capabilities. And so that's something we're actively trying to support and expand and support our members to do.
And is there anything you're hearing along that supply chain? Like any particular things that are emerging there in the conversation that you're seeing that your members are focused on, whether it's improving or optimizing right now?
Standardizing. So right now, depending on the type of therapy, where the therapy is going to be administered, who the biopharma manufacturer is of the product, we're not seeing a single standard pathway on who's involved in what. So if it's a commercial CAR T administered in the Southwest versus maybe a TIL therapy delivered in the Northeast, there are different stakeholders are involved in, again, the delivery of those products. So we're working with groups across the country, even internationally a bit, to really try to standardize who's able to provide what services to get these products out and what's most efficient.
Yeah, well, we have one of our partners, BioCare. They do logistics and supply chain, and that's what we hear too. Like everything is bespoke right now, right? Each one is different. So again, I don't want to give up all your talk for 2 weeks from now, but it's good to hear kind of some of the highlights on what people are focused on right now.
Yeah, and one thing AABB can provide is, so again, a quality standard setting body, so we can get all these players in a room and decide, what are the quality standards when you're getting a product from a manufacturer through a third party. What kind of agreements do you have in place? What kind of equipment should you be using? If there is, an unexpected event, what's the communication cascade? How do you inform the manufacturer, the clinical team appropriately? And so those are all the standards that our volunteer members help put together and that we assess different facilities against.
Yeah. So can you talk about it? Like, what's the membership look like? Like, if I were to step back and look at your members, like who are the members that are part of AABB?
Yep. So we've got, on the cell therapy side, a lot of folks involved in the cell therapy laboratories. So not just the technicians, but the quality staff, the regulatory folks. We've got a lot of the academicians, so the MD, PhD researchers who are really trying to figure out how to get the products that they're working on, through the clinical trials, hopefully eventually through commercialization. A lot of the blood center folks involved, both the technical staff who are working with donors or patients to provide the apheresis, but as well as, again, their quality teams or logistical staff, donor recruitment folks. So depending on the topic we're trying to address, we've got a deep bench of members that we can call up and say, hey, we're going to develop, some new guidelines or some new standards around this process. Would you be interested in participating and helping develop those? And a lot of AABB members are really engaged in those types of activities.
So your members are helping to kind of create the standards and craft the standards collectively as a community.
Right. And so a few years ago, we saw a new need in the ecosystem as it was maturing. We discussed a little bit about this in our pre-call, but around the pharmacy setting, right? So as some of these products are becoming commercially approved, the volumes are rapidly increasing. Traditionally a manufacturer would develop these and they'd ship them off to the academic medical center cell therapy lab, and they would hold them and prepare them for administration with the clinical team. But more and more we're seeing the specialty pharmacy involved, either the specialty pharmacists or investigational pharmacies located within the hospital, or the retail pharmacy groups who are providing their services specifically in the advanced therapy space. The problem is most of the pharmacy groups weren't really involved for the last 2-3 decades like the rest of the industry has. So we're not familiar with the common practices, the shared terminology, just kind of that tribal knowledge that we've learned around handling these types of mostly the blood-based biotherapies. And so some of the pharmacy groups came to us and said, hey, we're going to start becoming more involved. We want to make sure that we can maintain the quality of the product from the time the title is transferred to us to the time we hand it off to the clinical team. And so it was a really fun activity we did last year is we got a group of pharmacists, again, both from the academic medical centers, so from across the country, the major cell therapy programs in the US, as well as some of the retail groups, some of the pharmaceutical distributors, and folks from more of the traditional cell therapy programs. And we locked everyone in a room for about 3 days and hammered out some quality standards to ensure that your quality management system within the pharmacy is prepared to handle these advanced therapies. And again, what do you do? If there's a labeling issue, how do you ensure that the equipment you're using to help maybe with the processing or aliquoting or your hood space is validated appropriately. And so we've got a brand new set of standards that launched October 1. Mm-hmm. And those have been really well received. And now we're out there accrediting different pharmacy programs against those standards.
Yeah. Education is so critical, right? Like, all these new medicines and modalities are coming out. We saw this like in genetic testing, right? Genetic testing came out, and the biggest barrier wasn't the testing. It was like nobody knew what to do with the results when it came in, right? So pharmacists kind of the same way. They're like, suddenly they're being dropped this product, and they're like, how do I, am I doing this right?
Well, they can provide a lot of tangible value to the patients, to the clinical teams, in terms of being able to store these products, ensure that as part of the patient's larger treatment regimen, that this product is not going to interfere with that. They can also take on a lot of the financial risks, because these are high value products. And for some of these smaller community sites who will begin administering these therapies, they can't be liable for $3.5 million products. It doesn't work from a cash flow perspective. And so that's where the pharmacies can come in, and they've got larger contracts with the manufacturers. They're able to ensure reimbursement maybe a little bit quicker than if the hospital dealt directly with them. So we're excited to see that the role that they'll be playing as a new stakeholder in this field.
Yeah, I never thought about the insurance, but if you have a $3 million therapy coming into your pharmacy, that's a
right. And they're used to the higher value products, but the hospitals themselves are somewhat, like we said, they used to go through some of these cell therapy labs, and it's actually a majority of where the products are going through right now. But some of them have policies to say, hey, you cannot have more than X $100,000 of product in inventory. So that's kind of issues.
Now, do you? I think my team always gets mad at me because I think like 5 years in the future all the time. So I don't know if you ever have those exercises there, but that's the next phase of this, right? Is kind of like drug delivery and in-home drug delivery devices for these therapies, where you maybe aren't going into the hospital as much. I mean, do you guys talk about that, kind of where you see the puck going next in the field?
Yeah, again, I mean, these large academic medical centers, the ones who are pushing these therapies through the late stage clinical trials and the early commercialization of these products, they're the experts that have been seeing these patients with these newer therapies that you and I can't even imagine yet, right? We've got the CARs for the autoimmune diseases. We've got a lot of new regenerative medicines coming through in the pipeline. But as those mature and become more standardized, we want to get those out to the community. We want to hit, the higher volumes of patients. And so, yeah, it's looking to say, how can we safely ensure that these patients can receive these therapies, so that we can still monitor them for, adverse events, that we still have planning in place in case something unexpected does occur, that we can continue with high positive outcomes that we've been seeing from these products in the hospital setting, and get them out to the community. So I think that's going to be the focus, and ensuring that you're not just prescribing a pill or a simple infusion, but that their care teams and their support systems are able to help the patients as they proceed with receiving these treatments.
Yeah, an orchestrated approach. Changing topics a little bit, Jeff. So, pharmacies is a new area that you all and your members are really embracing and leaning into. What about the workforce? What role do you guys play in the workforce? Because that's a whole nother area where you have specialty, elements and training and certifications, and so how does AABB, what's your role there?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways a professional can get into biotherapies, cell and gene therapies. They can be someone who chases a whole bunch of different degrees, or they could be someone who's been in the industry for 20 years, or maybe you're pivoting, from the traditional blood space into cell therapies, or you're coming from, small molecule or even device. And so depending on your journey to get into the space, we're uncertain, how qualified you are, how much of this industry you've got the full spectrum on, awareness of. So what we developed about 2 years ago was a new credentialing program. It's the CABP. It's a Certified Advanced Biotherapies Professional Certificate, and really what it does, it's a 4-hour online proctored exam, validates your understanding across the whole biotherapies spectrum. So it evaluates your understandings of the life cycle of the development of these therapies, quality and regulatory considerations, patient clinical care interactions, and other domains. And I think what we've seen is it's a really nice tool for those who might have a little bit of imposter syndrome, or might not have been in the industry for so long, but it really shows, hey, I do know what I'm talking about. I can sit across the table from some of these folks who've made a career out of developing cell therapies, and I know enough to be able to talk the talk with them, have the confidence in them to be part of that. So we've had that credential out for about 2 years. We've got about 150 CABPs, with another probably 75 scheduled to take in the next year. We've talked to some employers, mostly on the East Coast, about saying, hey, is this a qualification that would maybe be a preferred requirement for some of these roles, right? So if you're leading a stem cell lab, we talked to a few people. They're actually in business development, but they want to be able to talk to the folks in the laboratory, to the lab leaders, the researchers, and they want to make sure that they know what they're talking about. And so we've had a couple folks in BD take the exam just to say, hey, now I know that I can go up to these folks and we can have a conversation about whatever product they're developing. So that's an exciting new credential that we'll continue to promote in 2026.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, what we talked about earlier, there's a whole ecosystem and supply chain outside of the lab itself.
Yep.
That is evolving. So you need people certified to understand the big picture in supply chain, in quality, in business development, right? So in product development, so
logistics in cell therapy is not the same as logistics, outside. Business development in CGT is not the same as business development in a different industry.
The other thing that we're seeing, Jeff, is, so I gotta say AI at least once in everything we do. Otherwise, the AI is not going to pick this up in SEO. But with AI really integrating into all of our work streams and our workflows, so what we're hearing from hiring managers is, we do a lot of hiring, and we do a lot of, work getting fractional and part-time contract staff in place. What we're hearing is it's harder and harder to verify expertise.
Right.
So, and with AI and tools that are available today, two things. One, it's easy for someone to have the program running and faking in an interview. But secondly, people are applying AI into their work streams. So they need the expert human in the loop, right? That's valuable. It's more valuable than ever before, is having the expert human in the loop on the team that can train, develop, monitor. So I'd say credentialing probably is getting more important than ever with the adoption of these new tools that we're using and technologies that we're using. And again, this is just, we had an event just this past week on AI and regulatory and impact on regulatory and quality. And that was a big part of the conversation was how important understanding true knowledge and true expertise is on the fields. So yeah, I don't know if you have any comment on that, but I'd say that making it more important.
Yeah, I think more and more people are becoming aware of cell and gene therapies. They can conceptually understand how they work or maybe how they're developed. But those aren't the same folks that should be leading the industry and kind of driving where the industry is going to grow. So again, holding this credential, again, to your point, validates that I know what I'm talking about. I understand, this product from a few different perspectives, from the regulatory perspective, from the clinical perspective, the business of actually developing a product and getting it through clinical trials. So yeah, we like it. Again, lots of positive feedback. AABB offers some study material. The exam's available 24/7. It's an online exam. And so hopefully maybe this will get a couple people excited to consider taking it.
Yeah. Well, again, Jeff's not paying me to do it, but I believe really very strongly in, as this industry continues to evolve, these type of verifications become more important in the world of trust and when you're getting hired and growing your career. So it's a wild west in the workforce right now, Jeff.
Yeah, right. And so anything, a potential candidate can have that kind of differentiates them from their competitors, maybe a credential would help.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess as we wrap out, Jeff, again, I hope that you have a couple more people that'll come by your panel on Advanced Therapies USA. But tell us a little bit, why should someone come and become a member if they're in the cell therapy space or pharmacy space? Tell us, give us your plug here for how can you add value to the people that are working in the space right now, and why should they come and be a part of everything you're working to build?
Sure. So again, as I started at the beginning of this interview, quality is central to what AABB does. We are truly experts in quality, not only in the blood collection, banking, transfusion medicine space, but also in the cell therapy, and now the cell and gene therapy space. So as you're looking to learn more how to incorporate, these key quality concepts into your operations, it's absolutely critical, right? For these types of products, these are unique, personalized, individually built. Come join AABB as a member. Sit in our conversations, join a working group. Certainly, as a member, if there's an issue that no one else is addressing in the space, bring it to us, and we're very open to putting together a publication on that. We're a pretty trusted brand internationally. Again, 6,000 members. We're in 80 countries. We accredit over 1,300 facilities across the globe. Many of those involved in supporting cell therapy programs, both on the academic side as well as the commercial industry side. So it's worth exploring to further your knowledge about the cell therapies in the space.
Well, we've enjoyed the partnership with you. I think it's an exciting space. We're still, I think, in the .com era of cell therapy, so I think we've got a lot of exciting opportunity as we start to really go, upstream on new. You mentioned autoimmune and other areas that cell therapies are starting to get. So I think I can imagine that you're probably only going to get busier.
Yeah. This is the space where we'll be growing for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us here today. I'm looking forward to catching up with you just in a couple weeks up in Philadelphia.
I really appreciate Chris, and thanks to BioBuzz for spending some time with me.
Yeah, our pleasure. Well, thank you all for tuning in today. We'll be back in about a week and a half with our next guest. We have Arti Santanam coming up next. Arti is a good friend I've known for many years. She is the executive director of ET and building a biotech and health tech venture studio in Baltimore City here, really helping some really exciting companies grow. So I'm excited for that conversation in just a week and a half. So Jeff, happy Friday to you. Enjoy the day, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks all. Yep. Bye-bye.